Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. The topic of today's video is going to be one of the most common questions that I get here on my YouTube channel, and that is, what is the best way or easiest way to get legendary cards? Now let's start off with a quick disclaimer. There are no glitches or hacks or secret ways that you can get legendary cards, whether you're free to play or pay to play, it doesn't matter. But there are, however, just normal, strategic, prudent ways that you can put yourself in a great position to get legendary cards in the most efficient way possible, and that's going to be the subject of today's video. So any videos out there on YouTube that tell you, oh, this is the easy way to get legendary cards, or this is a legendary glitch or a new method to get legendary cards easier, they're not true, guys. Don't click on them, don't show them any love, because it's not real. There's no tricks or hacks to get legendary cards. So now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and talk quickly about the different ways to get legendary cards, and then we'll come up with a game plan together to help put you in the best position to get legendaries, even if you're free to play, and really try to identify what your best value is in terms of both your time and your resources. So on the screen right now, you can see the average number of chests for one legendary card. Super magical chest, obviously the best by far in terms of your odds. So 2.14 super magical chests to get one legendary card. Now, the challenge chests aren't pictured here. We're going to talk about those because those are going to be a huge part of our game plan in just a second. But first, I do want to talk about the actual legendary chests and how often they appear. So on the screen right now, you can see the odds of getting a legendary chest in your chest cycle depend on your arena level. So if you're in legendary arena, you get one legendary chest every cycle, meaning every 241 chests. If you're below legendary arena, you're guaranteed one legendary chest every 2 chest cycles, which turns out to be 482 chests. Again, guys, don't get bogged down too much on the numbers here, as they do change quite frequently. More importantly, the takeaway here is just trying to identify where the chest value lies. Now, the most valuable way you can get a legendary card in terms of actually buying them is in the shop, and that's also going to be a big factor in how we're going to strategize getting you guys the most legendary cards possible. But before we get into the game plan, let's discuss a few other ways that you can get legendary cards and how feasible they are in terms of a good, valuable option to get them. So super magical chest, as we discussed, is the best chance at just under 50% chance. Again, these numbers are always changing depending on the overall number of cards in the game and depending on the number of legendaries in the game. But they are by far the most expensive, and I would not recommend free-to-play players or players who just don't spend a lot of money on the game buy outright. They're about $33 each, depending on how many gems you're buying, and it's just not worth it for a little bit lower than a 50% chance of getting a legendary card. Now, conversely, grand challenges, in my opinion, offer the best value for legendary cards in the game, and our strategy will rely heavily on both grand challenges and classic challenges. Now, according to an Orange Juice video that I'll post in the description, there is a 5% chance in getting a legendary card at 5 wins in a grand challenge. After 12 wins in a grand challenge, that bumps up to almost 30% of getting a legendary card from a grand challenge chest. The second part of our strategy will revolve around the shop, as I discussed a little bit earlier. Now, this is one of the best values at unlocking a legendary card because it costs 40k gold, and as a free-to-play player, I would suggest buying one legendary to unlock it, unless you have a ton of gold on hand. In that case, you can go ahead and upgrade the legendaries as well, but most likely you're not going to have, 80k gold sitting around where you can just frivolously continue to buy legendaries. My advice would be unlock a legendary if it appears in your shop, and we're going to get to your game plan in terms of how to save up gold and the best way to use your gold in gems. Now, the classic challenge stats, before we get into that, are roughly the same in terms of a cost to reward ratio as the grand challenge. So at 8 wins, you have a 1% chance of pulling out a legendary card. At 12 wins, you have about a 3% chance of pulling a legendary legendary card in the Classic Challenge. Now let's get to the actual game plan. So the first part of our game plan is going to be to save. You're going to need to save about 500 gems and about 40,000 gold. That's going to be very important. So we always want to save and create a baseline of 40k gold and never spend on upgrading cards until you have that 40k baseline. Now, the reason being is because if a legendary shows up in your shop, you're going to want to have that money, that gold, excuse me, to spend to get that legendary to unlock it. It's going to be incredibly valuable to you. We also want to save 500 gems, which is much easier said than done. Now, you can, as a free-to-play player, just by playing battles and opening up your free chests as well as your crown chests, you can get anywhere from 25 to a free-to-play player max a day. So we want to save up 500 gems. Now, that can be a very challenging task as a free-to-play player. So if you can't do it, it's not the end of the world. This is just kind of a fail-safe so that we have enough gems if a legendary chest is made available to us via the special offer in the shop. So the idea here is if it's your birthday coming up or maybe the holidays are coming up, go ahead and ask your parents or grandma or your significant other for a gift card and then keep that as your backup plan in case you're given that 500 gem chest to open up. It's an easy way to unlock legendary cards. So keep that in mind. If you can't do it, again, we're going to talk about other ways to best spend the gems that you do get as far as a free-to-play player just by opening up your free and crown chests. So once you saved up all that gold and the gems, now you'll be in a perfect position to get those legendary cards and capitalize when they become available to you. So what are you going to do in the meantime? Well, number one is get to level 8 as soon as possible and try to level up your cards to tournament level standards. That's going to be key because we want to farm here. We want to farm challenges. That's your best value in the entire game in terms of getting legendary cards. So the easiest way to do this is to play a certain archetype, whether it be control or siege or beatdown, and stick with it. You'll get the added benefit of becoming a better player using that deck as well, so sticking with one archetype will actually pay you in 2 types of ways. Now, if you're not sure what deck archetype to choose or what deck archetypes even are, I'll include a link to a video I did on deck archetypes, so you can go ahead and check that out as well. So once you decided what archetype to actually play with, then you can start concentrating on upgrading your win condition card, whether it be a Hog Rider or a Giant or an Expo, etc., followed by your supporting common cards. I prefer upgrading your direct damage spells first because an extra level in, say, Zap, Arrows, or Fireball actually makes a huge difference between killing low HP units such as Goblins, Princess, Skeleton Army, etc. So after your cards are tournament level standards, you're going to want to focus on 3 methods to farm your legendaries. And number 1 is obviously free tournaments. I host 2 daily on Twitter at clash_with_ash. The rewards aren't great in tournaments anymore, but they're free to play. And if you finish high, you'll definitely benefit greatly given that they cost you nothing. But number 2 and number 3 are basically challenges. Challenges are so valuable right now. So you've saved up your resources, you're ready to use your excess gems for challenges. Now, if you're totally free to play, you're going to want to spend your gems, your daily gems, on 1 or 2 classic challenges a day. Now, classic challenges, as we discussed, aren't quite as lucrative as grand challenges, but think about it. If you play 2 classic challenges a day and you win, say, an average of 8 wins, well, the odds are you'll get 1 legendary card roughly every 6 weeks. Now, if you're the type of player who doesn't mind spending a few dollars on the game, maybe say $5 a week, maybe it's an allowance or something like that, I'd recommend playing 5 grand challenges a week and your odds will go up tenfold. So maybe, like I said, negotiate a bigger allowance, or maybe, you know, give yourself the, or allow yourself, if you're an adult, to spend a few dollars on entertainment a week, and you can play grand challenges. Now, grand challenges, again, your odds go up to 20% if you're going to get all 12 wins. Now, not everybody does that, but obviously, maybe if you sprinkle in a couple grand challenges on on the weekends and then play classic challenges all week, you're bound to get at least one legendary card a month if you're playing those consistently. So think of it like farming. It's basically farming cards. So in the meantime, you're also going to be upgrading more epics, more rares, and more commons if you follow this methodology. Now, what legendaries should you prioritize? Well, honestly, it depends on your own preference and game